Moodle assignment is an online submission box that allows students to upload files and submit their work to be graded. Assignments can be submitted individually or as a group, depending on the settings. After students submit their assignments, faculty can review the submissions, grade them using rubrics or more simple grading methods, and provide feedback on the student's work. To add an assignment, from your course's main page, ensure that the editing mode is on, and click Add an Activity or Resource. Choose Assignment, which is this red icon here. On the Settings page, you can give your assignment a name and a description if you like. You can also add some activity instructions and upload additional files here. You have an option here to only show files during the submission, which will come into play later under Availability when you see the time limit section. Additional files can be useful if you have other instructions or other information about the assignment that you want to share with students. Checking the Only Show Files During Submission button will only show that once they make an attempt. The availability section of the settings here determines the dates that students can submit assignments and when they're prevented from submitting. Allowing submissions from is the date that they have to wait until before they can submit. If you set a date in the future, they will not be able to make a submission until that date. The due date is simply what it says. It's the date that the assignment is due. Moodle will mark any assignment submitted after this as past the due date. The cutoff date is the date at which students can no longer submit any assignments. So if you make a cutoff date after the due date, for example, students would still be able to submit this after July 11th until July 12th, but after July 12th, it would not allow them to make any submissions. You can also choose to enable a time limit. What this does is that once students begin their attempt, they'll be shown any files that you check here and upload here, and then they'll have a time limit of whatever you set up before they must actually submit their assignment. Otherwise, it just defaults to whatever the cutoff date is here. Under submission types, you have a few different options. You can choose to allow students to upload a file, which is most common. They could upload, for example, an Excel spreadsheet, a Word document, a PDF, or any other files that you allow, or you can allow online text. You can choose the number of files that they're allowed to upload. If you only want them to upload a single file, for example, you can do that here. You can also adjust the submission size up to 100 megs, and you can choose to allow only certain file types. This could be useful, for example, if you only want students to submit a PDF, you can click Choose, you can find PDF here under Document Files, and then check off the box to only allow PDFs. You'll now note that the only accepted file type is PDF. Under feedback types, we have a few different options. By default, you should be allowing feedback comments, which will allow you to provide comments on students' work. Annotate PDF is a separate tool that only works if students are submitting PDFs. That will allow you to actually annotate on top of it. If you are not having students submit only PDFs, if they can submit Word documents or any other file type, you don't want to use the Annotate PDF. You can also choose to use feedback files, which will allow you a spot in every student's submission page where you're grading to upload a file back to them. We typically don't change anything under submission settings for most cases. Group submission settings, you will change if this is a group assignment, and we'll have more instructions on that in a separate video. But this is where you would change those settings to allow students to submit in groups. The grade section of settings is where you'll change the maximum grade for students. So if, for example, this is graded out of 30 points, that's where you would change it here. If you are using a rubric or a marking guide, the maximum grade should match the total number of points that are used on the rubric. So you will want to update that here. Grading method is where you can specify whether you're using simple direct grading, which allows you to just enter a score out of the total maximum grade, or if you're using a marking guide or rubric, you can note those here. Once we're done updating our settings, we'll click Save and Display. So on this page, we can see the total number of students in our course as participants, and you can see how many have submitted a draft or their assignment and how many need grading. Once you have submissions, you'll be able to click View All Submissions, and then you can see a list of your students with their submissions here. You can grade them by clicking the Grade button. So this box here is where you would update their grade, and you can add their total number of points, and then any comments that you would like here. And click Save Changes. You'll also see a box that notifies the student once they do receive a mark, in which case that would email them saying that you've graded their assignment. If you don't want to notify them, you can uncheck that box. You can return to the list of submissions there, and now we'll see that this one is graded. So that's all there is to it in terms of creating an assignment. Once created, students can submit it, and you can grade the submissions and provide feedback for them. If you have any other questions, please reach out to the Teaching and Learning Hub.